The movie starts by showing four men from China on their way to Hong Kong by sea. These men are hoping to find better opportunities and secure good jobs in Hong Kong. One of them, named Ho, is well respected for his martial arts skills. Upon reaching Hong Kong, Ho and his three friends quickly find a place to live. Shortly after, a friend who has been living in Hong Kong for some time approaches Ho. This friend asks Ho to take part in a fight to help protect a white gang, with the promise of a substantial payment. In need of money, Ho agrees to his friend's offer. That night, the white gang is seen getting ready for a fight against a black gang. Ho and his three friends decide to join the white gang, and the brawl begins. Amid the chaos, Ho stands out with his impressive skills, defeating his opponents one after another. On the rooftop, a police officer and mafia boss named Lee observe the fight. It's clear that Lee is impressed by Ho's abilities. Soon after, both gangs are dispersed by the heavily armed Hong Kong police, and some members are arrested. At this point, Ho and his three friends try to disguise themselves as police officers to escape calmly. However, their disguise is discovered by Police Chief Ernest. Reluctantly, Ho is forced to confront the police officers. In the midst of the chaos, Ho and his friends are overwhelmed, but then Lee arrives, pointing a weapon at them. Eventually, Ho and his friends are captured and taken to the police station. Sometime later, Ho and his friends find themselves in custody. Lee arrives with a prison guard for an interrogation. The prison guard asks Ho where he's from, and Ho explains that he came from China in search of work. Surprisingly, the prison guard, who is also originally from China, sympathizes with them. He promises to release Ho and his friends within the next 8 hours. Lee seems to have no objections, admiring Ho's skills. However, a sudden arrival of Ernest disrupts the situation. He is seeking revenge against Ho for his earlier actions against his subordinates. Ernest starts beating Ho severely, but Lee steps in and takes Ho to the hospital. The next day, Ho is being treated in the hospital, accompanied by his three friends and cared for by a friendly nurse. Lee sends his right-hand man to give Ho $500 as an apology from the police for the beating. Ho and his friends are overjoyed, as it's the first time they've had that much money. A few days later, Ho, having recovered, decides to return to their rented house. Before going back, he takes his three friends shopping for clothes with the money Lee gave them. Returning to their rented house, Ho and his friends witness the landlady being harassed by loan sharks. Without hesitation, they drive away the loan sharks and use the money from Lee to pay off all the landlady's debts, ensuring her safety. Meanwhile, Lee celebrates his wedding with the daughter of a high-ranking police official. They appear genuinely happy, and Lee promises never to harm his wife. The following day, Ho heads to the headquarters of the illegal goods mafia boss with a mission in mind. He aims to rescue one of his friends held captive by the mafia boss, Huang. His friend had been caught stealing illegal goods belonging to Huang. Huang agrees to release Ho's friend if Ho can defeat one of his best henchmen in a duel. Without hesitation, Ho accepts the challenge and a fierce battle unfolds. During the duel, Ho manages to gain the upper hand against Huang's henchmen, landing several strikes on the opponent. In the end, Ho negotiates a deal with Huang. If he agrees to enter the illegal goods business as a distributor, Huang will drop the issue and release Ho's friend. With limited job opportunities, Ho accepts the offer. In the days that follow, Ho and his three friends begin distributing illegal goods around their rented house area. In just a few weeks, Ho amasses a significant fortune. He becomes wealthy and often spends his money at bars with Huang and his associates. A few days later, Lee returns from his honeymoon and approaches Ho. Lee discloses his dual role as a police officer and involvement in the illegal goods trade. He invites Ho to join him, promising to share the profits. Tempted by the potential for more significant gains, Ho agrees and is ready to leave Huang behind. Meanwhile, a group of Chinese migrants boards an illegal ship bound for Hong Kong. Ho's wife and child are among them, seeking a reunion with Ho in Hong Kong. However, their ship gets intercepted by Hong Kong police, led by Ernest, for an immigration raid. Frightened, all the Chinese migrants hide beneath the ship, including Ho's wife and child. Sadly, because Ho's child cries uncontrollably, a heartless ship officer strikes him, and tragically, Ho's wife and child lose their lives in a drowning incident. Several hours later, Ho and his 3 friends await at the harbor, expecting to reunite with their child and wife. Heartbreakingly, they receive the devastating news that Ho's child and wife have perished in a drowning accident. Overwhelmed by grief, Ho can only weep as he holds the lifeless bodies of his loved ones. The next day, Ho continues to be haunted by the recent tragic loss of his family. He feels that everything he had worked for was in vain, as it was all for the sake of his wife and child, who are no longer with him. Meanwhile, Lee is seen in a conversation with his right-hand man. Lee mentions his intention to visit his rival in the illegal goods trade to discuss territory distribution once more. The right-hand man advises Lee to wear a bulletproof vest, as their rival is known for his ruthlessness and willingness to eliminate anyone. Before departing, Lee instructs his right-hand man to use gunfire as a signal if he encounters trouble. Lee arrives at the rival's headquarters, where many of the rival's henchmen give him disdainful glances. He meets with his business rival to negotiate the division of new territory. However, during their discussion, one of the rival's henchmen betrays them, shooting both Lee and the rival. The rival is fatally wounded, while Lee, thanks to his bulletproof vest, survives the attack. He attempts to flee while being pursued by the rival's henchmen, who mistakenly believe Lee is responsible for their boss's death. During their escape attempt, Ho suddenly emerges and pulls Lee to a hiding spot. Unfortunately, they are discovered, finding themselves surrounded by the henchmen of Lee's business rival. Ho tries to explain that Lee is innocent and didn't shoot their boss, but some remain unconvinced and still want to harm both Lee and Ho. Luckily, Ho kicks a table, causing a candle to fall onto fireworks, which shoot up into the sky, indirectly signaling to Lee's right-hand man that they are in danger. Swiftly, Lee's right-hand man assembles their forces to defend against the attack from the rival's henchmen. Meanwhile, Ho takes Lee to safety. Afterward, Ho rushes to assist Lee's right-hand man as they confront the rival's henchmen in battle. In the midst of the fight, Ho, facing overwhelming odds, is eventually defeated and captured. He is then taken to face their new boss. It turns out that Huang, the mafia boss, orchestrated the entire situation, setting up Lee to clash with his business rival. Huang is unhappy about the expansion of their business and is determined to stop it. Cruelly, Huang tortures Ho, seeing him as a traitor. Several days later, we see Ho receiving treatment in the hospital. The injuries on his leg were a result of the torture inflicted by Huang. Meanwhile, Huang has been arrested by Lee's associates in the police force. After several days of treatment, Ho works hard to rehabilitate his leg until he's declared fully healed. The following day, Ho resumes his business. This time, he has many subordinates, thanks to his alliance with Lee. Their business has expanded significantly, and Ho has become quite wealthy. Several weeks later, Ho decides to marry the nurse who once took care of him, as he wants to move on from the loss of his former wife. After their honeymoon, Ho meets with Lee. During their conversation, Lee tells Ho that he's free to do anything as long as he doesn't interfere with Ernest, the police chief, as he could pose a threat to both of their businesses. On the other side, we see Huang being released by Ernest. It appears that Ernest intends to recruit Huang as one of his subordinates because he also wants to enter the illegal goods business similar to Lee. Sometime later, Lee holds a meeting with several illegal goods dealers to rearrange their territories. Huang is also present, representing Ernest, who is just starting his illegal goods business venture alongside Huang. When Ho sees Huang, he can't contain his desire for revenge against him for the past torture. However, Lee intervenes, and Ho suppresses his emotions as the meeting continues. During the discussion, they introduce a woman named Rose, who is one of Lee's subordinates from Thailand. After the meeting ends, Ho immediately approaches Huang, welcoming him aboard. He does this as a form of revenge against Huang for causing his leg injury. A few days later, Lee has a conversation with Ho. Lee instructs Ho to go to Thailand to purchase illegal goods from a longtime dealer. Ho agrees to Lee's request and sets off for Thailand with his 3 friends and Rose, who is originally from Thailand. Ho and his friends finally arrive in Thailand. However, instead of meeting the dealer right away, they encounter Su Hao. In a surprising turn of events, Su Hao attacks Ho and tries to kill him. Luckily, Ho manages to defend himself and points a weapon at Su Hao. It becomes clear that Su Hao is envious of Ho's quick rise to become Li's right-hand man while he has remained a subordinate for years. Soon, more of Su Hao's friends arrive, leading to another fight. In the end, Ho and his friends corner Su Hao, demanding that his friends stop attacking if he wants to survive. With Su Hao as their captive, Ho and his friends make a quick escape using a boat. During the journey, one of Ho's friends is severely injured from the earlier fight. Sadly, the friend passes away due to excessive bleeding. Afterward, Ho buries his friend next to Su Hao, who is still in captivity. Sometime later, Ho and his friends head to the illegal goods dealer's headquarters. The dealer initially offers a price of $6,000 per kilogram, but Ho bargains hard and manages to lower it to $3,000. The dealer gets upset and threatens Ho. However, Rose takes action by playing a recorded audio and showing a photo of the dealer's kidnapped wife and child in Thailand. Fearing for their safety, the dealer agrees to sell the illegal goods for $3,000 per kilogram. With the deal secured, Ho and his friends quickly return to Hong Kong. The scene shifts to a bar in Hong Kong, where we meet Ho's younger brother, who is struggling with drug addiction. Huang offers him illegal substances for free, but he must drink his boss Ernest's urine. Ho's younger brother refuses and throws the liquid at Ernest, which leads to Ernest brutally beating him. After returning from Thailand, Ho rushes to the hospital upon hearing about his younger brother's condition. His brother is badly injured, suffering from a concussion and other injuries. Seeing his brother in such a state, Ho becomes convinced that Ernest and Huang are responsible, and he decides to confront them. However, Li is there and manages to restrain Ho, advising him to think rationally. Thanks to Li's intervention, Ho's emotions settle down, and he refrains from attacking Ernest and Huang. Several days later, Li invites Ho for an overseas vacation, promising to cover all the expenses. However, Ho declines, citing the need to oversee his business. Li understands and goes on the trip with his wife. That night, Ho asks his wife to leave town because he intends to seek revenge on Ernest and Huang. He declined Li's offer with this plan in mind. After his wife departs, Ho launches an attack on Ernest, who is in a car with some associates. He is close to finishing off Ernest when more of Ernest's henchmen arrive and start attacking Ho. Feeling outnumbered, Ho and his two friends decide to escape in their car. However, during the getaway, their car is suddenly rammed by Huang, causing it to overturn. At this moment, Ho instructs his two friends to leave while he confronts Huang and Ernest head-on. Without wasting any time, Ho attacks Huang with a barrage of shots, managing to corner him. On the other side, Li suddenly arrives with his police force to support Ho. He had returned upon learning that Ho was facing off against Ernest and Huang. Li orders his officers to take down Ernest's henchmen who are present. The scene shifts back to Ho, locked in a gunfight with Ernest. Bullets fly as they exchange fire. In a tense moment, Ernest corners Ho, ready to pull the trigger. Just as it seems dire for Ho, one of his friends arrives and sacrifices himself to shield Ho from the fatal shot. Witnessing his friend's sacrifice, Ho is consumed by anger and determination, rising to pursue Ernest. In the end, Ho managed to catch up with Ernest, cornering him. When he was about to eliminate Ernest, suddenly Li arrived and asked Ho not to kill Ernest. However, this time, Ho didn't want to listen to Li's words because this was all about revenge. In the end, Ho killed Ernest with several shots. As a consequence of this incident, Ho was arrested and sentenced to 30 years in prison, while Li was not found guilty, as he argued that he was merely trying to control the ongoing chaos. In the final scene of the film, it shows Ho, who has just been released from prison and now looks very old. Then, Ho contacts Li to inquire about his well-being. The ends. Moral lesson from the story: if you want to avoid trouble, it's better to stick to your original plan of going on vacation with your friends instead of seeking revenge.